Y'all, brace yourselves. Because what if I told you that gospel's first family just cracked at the seams again, and this time, it's not just a scandal, it's a spiritual implosion caught on camera. This ain't no inspirational TikTok. This ain't no Sunday morning rerun of Meet the Browns. Nah baby, this is raw, unholy chaos, and the choir ain't clapping. Tiffany Mann, daughter of gospel royalty Tamela and David Mann, just broke her silence in a way that got even the archangels gasping in group chat, because guess what? Behind those pristine prayer circles and family skits lies a storm of betrayal, manipulation, and hospital whispers that'll make your wig fly off mid-praise. We're talking a collapsed gospel queen, a husband too busy chasing clout to call an ambulance, and yes, secret phone calls, deleted voicemails, and one woman's fight to finally take the mask off the ministry. So you mean to tell me? While Tamela was flatlined and gasping for her life, David was allegedly booking photo ops, not paramedics. Baby, this ain't a faith walk, this is a gospel horror show with backup dancers. Grab your anointing oil and your popcorn, because the real testimony starts right now. Let's get one thing straight before we dive into this holy mess. What you're about to hear is not a Lifetime movie. This ain't a gospel musical. This is a real-life spiritual takedown, and if you thought the David and Tamela Mann empire was squeaky clean, baby, go ahead and throw that notion in the baptism pool and let it drown, because the way Tiffany Mann, daughter of gospel legends Tamela and David Mann, just ripped the designer-stitched choir robes off her own family's reputation. Chilly, even heaven took a seat. So what really happened? Well, picture this. Tamela Mann, yes, the Tamela Mann, the voice behind Take Me to the King, the soul saver of funeral playlists, the emotional CPR for every black woman going through it, is found collapsed backstage, barely breathing. Her body gave up before her spirit did. Fans thought it was exhaustion, tour stress, just too blessed to be stressed catching up with her. But Tiffany? Oh, Tiffany knew better. She knew her mama hadn't been fine in months. She'd watched her struggle to stay upright, to sing through dizziness, to put on a wig and a face full of joy while her organs were crying for help. But while the queen was fighting for her next breath, where was David Mann, gospel's Mr. Funny Guy, the lovable TV dad, the praying husband? Black Twitter couldn't stop standing. Allegedly? Not in the ambulance, not by her bedside, not even on the phone with Tiffany. Nope, according to Tiffany, his first call was to his booking agent. Let that sink in. Not, is my wife okay? Not, do I need to pray? But how do we protect the brand? Because apparently, when you've spent the last 15 years building a faith-based empire of tour buses, cookware lines, and fake smiles, the last thing you want is a coma ruining your schedule, according to Tiffany. The doctors told David Tamela needed immediate ICU care, and this man allegedly looked at the clipboard and said, "Keep this quiet. We can't have TMZ showing up at the hospital." The hospital, sir? Your wife is literally in medical distress, and you worried about paparazzi catching you without your Sunday suit. But wait, because this ain't even the climax. This is just the praise break before the scandalous sermon. Tiffany went live on Instagram, barefaced and broken, and what she revealed, even Pastor Shirley Caesar had to clutch her pearls. She said Tamela had been begging for rest, not a nap. A full year off. She'd been touring non-stop, recording albums while hooked up to 4 drips, wearing compression socks under gowns that cost more than rent. And David allegedly told her, "If you stop, everything falls apart." You read that, right? Not "let's heal together," not "God will provide," but "we need you to keep singing or we lose everything." That doesn't sound like love. That sounds like a hostage situation with a prayer emoji. And just when you think Tiffany was done, she pressed play on something that sent chills through the church circuit. A voicemail, Tamela's voice, shaky, fragile, like every note was pulled from somewhere deep, a place between hope and surrender. "Baby, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. They keep telling me to smile, but it hurts. It hurts to pretend. The comment section went full exorcism. Fans were crying. Gospel stations went radio silent. Even grandmothers started unfollowing David Mann on Facebook. That's how deep this cut. But see, Tiffany didn't just come with emotion, she came with receipts, baby, screenshots, time-stamped messages, deleted photos. She pulled out the archive like it was a federal investigation, and then boom came the name drop that shook the gospel community harder than a tambourine solo at revival night. Dr. Jackie.no, not that Dr. Jackie from Married to Medicine. This one was a celebrity health consultant, a wellness guru, and allegedly David's spiritual accountability partner. Spiritual what now? According to Tiffany, while Tamela was passing out in hotel lobbies and being told she just needed more vitamin C, David was allegedly having private sessions with Dr. Jackie that included luxury spa visits, energy, realignment, and heart emojis. Heart emojis, sir. Your wife is on oxygen and your texts look like a Valentine's Day gift bag from Walgreens? At this point, the tea was no longer tea. It was holy scalding lava. Gospel groups went on full pause. Choir leaders started scrubbing the Mann Family Hour from their playlists. A viral hashtag started trending. Hashtag justice for Tamela. And it wasn't just fans. One anonymous gospel promoter leaked a group chat screenshot where David allegedly said, "Tam's just exhausted. If her voice comes back by Wednesday, we're still good for Houston, Wednesday." Her voice comes back. Like she's a Bluetooth speaker and not a human being? Meanwhile, Tamela was reportedly sedated, wired up in an ICU room, and unaware that her tour husband had allegedly already checked out emotionally and checked in at a wellness resort to cities over. Tiffany also shared that Tamela had journaled privately in the weeks before her collapse. She didn't show the whole thing, just one line, but it was enough to fracture the internet. "I wonder if they'd still love me if I stopped singing." That line alone had church girls, aunties, and choir soloists sobbing in their car. Because it wasn't just about Tamela anymore, it was about every gospel woman told that her worth was her work. That love was earned through performance. That rest was rebellion, and that's when the Christian influencer industrial complex started to crack. Devotionals disappeared off digital shelves. One mega-church pastor, who previously called David Mann a kingdom example of manhood, deleted every post they ever did together. Another radio DJ simply tweeted, "We played Take Me to the King for 11 years straight. Now it feels like we were praising through her pain." And guess what? This was just the beginning, because just as Tiffany dropped that voicemail, just as the world started processing that maybe faith and fame had been faking it all along, that's when the real flood hit. You think emoji texts and spiritual spa sessions were messy? Wait till you hear about the mysterious wire transfers, the IRS letter, the bus driver who went missing, and the $300,000 in wellness expenses that mysteriously landed in a PayPal account tied to a woman with "doctor" in her name. Because, baby, if this is gospel, it's the book of Revelations, Ratchet Edition, and the chapter we're flipping to next, the one where the government steps in, where the live streams disappear, and where David Mann's silence becomes louder than any sermon he's ever preached. And if you thought that voicemail was bad, baby, hold onto your tambourine, because Tiffany wasn't done. That kitchen live stream? It was just the appetizer. The full course came steaming hot 3 nights later right from her childhood bedroom. No filters, no glam squad, just rage, betrayal, and a white tank top that said, "I am my mother's witness." Tiffany looked into the camera like she'd stared down every demon in that house and said the line that made gospel history crumble. "My mother knew. She knew about Dr. Jackie. She knew about the lies. But she stayed quiet to protect my father, to protect the brand, and to protect y'all." Now pause. Because what do you do when the gospel woman you've praised for decades, the woman who carried generations through heartbreak and grief with her voice, turns out to be suffering in silence so you could keep singing along? That's not ministry. That's emotional crucifixion. And Tiffany? She was done being the silent daughter at the foot of the cross. According to her, Tamela didn't just keep the secret, she lived around it. She let David Mann tour with his wellness consultant, aka Dr. Jackie, who was allegedly getting paid out of a faith-based charity fund disguised as a wellness budget. Yes, you heard that right, gospel money, being used for massages, room service, and couple spa packages. And while fans were praying over Tamela's voice, her husband was allegedly praying over somebody else's thigh at a Four Seasons in Dallas. Let's break this down. Tiffany said her mom had been showing signs of liver failure for months, chronic fatigue, dizziness, blurred vision. But David, the same man who built an empire on Christian love and supporting your queen, allegedly told tour staff to keep it quiet because we don't want to spook the ticket holders. Ticket holders? This ain't a Beyonce show, sir. Your wife was dying, and this wasn't some baseless gossip. Tiffany showed receipts. Literally, there were emails, hotel folios, and wellness invoices submitted to something called the Man Faith Foundation. You ready for this? That foundation, the one that claimed to support underserved communities and promote gospel healing through music, had line items for aromatherapy, Reiki energy sessions, and trauma debriefing for Dr. Jackie's private consultations with David. Private consultations, huh? That's what we're calling it now. And then came the wire transfers. Y'all, I need you to hear me clearly, because when this part hit the internet, it was like a praise break turned federal. 312,000, that's the amount Tiffany claimed was mislabeled as performance wellness and leadership maintenance in the foundation's records. And guess whose name was on the recipient list? Dr. Jackie. She wasn't just the side chick of the sanctuary, she was on payroll. And according to a whistleblower who used to work in the man's accounting office, Dr. Jackie had been cashing out since 2021, quietly, discreetly, no red flags, until Tamela hit the floor backstage and the lies came crumbling down. One screenshot showed a payment titled Vocal Recovery Immersion 7600, except Tamela wasn't even at that hotel. David was. Another one, Soul Realignment Seminar, 9 to 50, y'all. If soul realignment means cheating while your wife's in ICU, we've got bigger problems than the choir being off pitch. At this point, social media had transformed into a digital revival, except instead of laying hands, folks were laying facts. Gospel pages began cross-referencing tour schedules with spa bookings. Influencers were posting reaction videos titled, David Mann, Faithful or Fraud? And Tamela didn't deserve this, but nothing prepared the saints for the voicemail Tiffany dropped next. This one wasn't from Tamela. It was from a nurse, voice disguised, face blurred, and what she said could bring a megakirk to its knees. When Mrs. Mann was brought into ICU, her records showed prolonged organ stress. We asked her husband if she had been sick for long. He looked at us and said, just stabilize her. We've got a tour in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Not, is she in danger? Not, how do we help her recover? Just stabilize her like she's a prop, a mix stand, a bus tire, something to fix so the show can go on. Tiffany said she overheard the call. That's how she knew. And that's when she cracked. She said she walked straight into David's green room and demanded answers. And you know what he allegedly said? God has me in a new season. A new season? Sir, your wife is on a feeding tube and you're talking about seasons like this is a Hallmark movie? Let me tell you something, the only season you need is accountability with a dash of shame and the gospel world. Oh, they weren't buying this at all. One pastor from Chicago went viral after saying in a sermon, if this is the man y'all held up as a God-fearing husband, then maybe we've been worshiping image, not integrity. Another gospel singer tweeted, Tamela gave us healing. She deserved it back. Period. Radio stations started dropping the Man Family Hour. Christian bookstores quietly removed devotionals with David's face on the cover. Some churches issued full statements condemning spiritual exploitation and ministry branding. And through all this, David, silent. No press conference. No statement. Not even a badly written notes app apology with "please respect our privacy." At the bottom, Tiffany, meanwhile, stayed on the front lines. She released screenshots from a group chat titled Tour Strategy. In it, someone labeled DM allegedly asked if they could prep a ghost singer for high-risk dates, meaning have someone on standby to sing Tamela's parts in case she got too sick again. A ghost singer, like Tiffany Mann, was disposable, replaceable, a backup track on her own stage. You'd think that would be the peak of the scandal, but nope, because next came the IRS. That's right. Tiffany confirmed it herself. She said federal investigators reached out to her after she exposed the wellness invoices. Apparently, a former employee from the Mann Foundation had already filed a quiet complaint. And once those financial statements went public, the feds began connecting the dots: luxury travel, unreported consultant payments, wellness fees with no receipts, multiple performance retreats at resorts Tamela never attended. One document Tiffany leaked showed a $4,800 payment to Energy Revival Healing signed by David, but the billing address was a hotel room in Malibu registered under J. Reynolds. J. Reynolds equals Jackie Reynolds equals Dr. Jackie. You do the math. And Tiffany? She wasn't just exposing her father. She was exposing a system, a machine that weaponized gospel branding to milk a woman's voice until her body collapsed. She went live again, this time outside the hospital. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She held her mother's journal, and she read one final line: "I just want to know if they love me or if they only love my gift." And at that moment, something shifted, because suddenly this wasn't just about David Mann. It wasn't just about Tamela's collapse. It was about every gospel woman who gave until she was empty. Every gospel queen told to keep smiling, to keep singing, to keep the brand alive even if it kills her. Tiffany said, "This ain't bitterness. This is protection. My mother gave her life to gospel. Now I'm fighting to give it back to her." And that's exactly where we pick up in part 3, because while the gospel world tried to recover, the scandal was about to hit courtrooms, canceled contracts, and a surprise deleted livestream from Dr. Jackie herself. And let's just say, the saints were not ready. Just when folks thought they had cried their last tear, just when they thought Tiffany had spilled every drop of tea in that kitchen of chaos baby, the storm wasn't over. Because 3 days after that final journal line went viral, the gospel world snapped clean in half, and not with a whisper, with a subpoena. Multiple outlets, including a certain gospel blogger who always just happens to have the tea before breakfast, confirmed it. The Mann name was now sitting in a folder labeled "Under Investigation" with the words "Federal Review Pending." You heard that right. We're no longer in gospel gossip territory. This was real. This was legal. This was people showing up at a M with clipboards and questions that even David's prayer circle couldn't pray away. Tiffany posted a follow-up video, this time wearing her mother's old church robe and a satin bonnet. Her face looked like she hadn't slept in days, but her voice, stone cold steady. "I want to thank the detectives," she said, "for taking my mother seriously, for seeing through the scripture quotes and seeing the receipts." And just like that, the whispers turned into headlines. David Mann and Dr. Jackie had officially been taken in for questioning. Tiffany said it was surreal, said her mama used to tell her that God don't like ugly, but apparently neither does the IRS. According to leaked documents that dropped the same morning, investigators were reviewing hundreds of transactions linked to the Mann Faith Foundation, including ones flagged as wellness expenditures, performance enrichment, and soul detox. Now, unless soul detox is the new gospel term for cheating and charging it to a charity card, we've got fraud with a side of foolishness. One record showed a ministry realignment trip to Aruba. Cost? $14,000. Guest list? Just David and Jackie. And the kicker? Tamela was hospitalized that week. This wasn't just infidelity. This was gospel manipulation wrapped in spa robes and tropical room service. Then came the emails. Oh baby, the internet got messy. A former assistant anonymously leaked a string of emails between David and a tour manager. In them, David allegedly said, "If Tam can recover in time, we need to spin it. Blame exhaustion. Blame pressure. But never let it look like she was pushed too far. Blame exhaustion? Sir, she was in liver failure. This ain't a PR crisis. This is your wife fighting for her life while you're out here scripting cover stories like it's a Tyler Perry thriller. But if you think that's rock bottom, oh no, we still had one more twist. Because in the middle of the chaos, Dr. Jackie decided to go live. Yep, Miss Wellness, Miss Energy Alignment, Miss Helping David Heal. She fired up a live stream from what looked like a dimly lit Airbnb with a Himalayan salt lamp in the background and a church fan on the wall. The caption, "My truth, the energy." Delusional, Jackie spoke in slow, dramatic tones like she was auditioning for a gospel stage. Play nobody asked for. I never intended to hurt anyone, she said. David and I connected spiritually. I was helping him navigate trauma. Ma'am, trauma? What trauma? The trauma of booking 5-star hotels on a charity card, she continued. I didn't know Tamela was that sick. I was misinformed. Misinformed? Sweetheart, Tiffany had the email showing that Jackie received Tamela's medical report 2 weeks before the collapse. So either you lied or you just didn't care, but the live stream didn't stop there. Jackie went on to say, I saw the pain David was carrying. He needed light. He needed space. I provided that. Light? Space? Girl, you weren't a lighthouse, you were a whole hurricane. And while Tamela was literally on a breathing machine, you were out here providing space with candlelight and complimentary champagne. It didn't take long. Within 45 minutes, the stream was deleted. But guess what? The internet, don't forget, clips went viral before she could log off. Reaction videos flooded in. Memes popped up faster than a gospel choir on Easter Sunday. And then, just when you thought Tiffany might go quiet, she posted again. This time, no words. Just a photo, Tamela's hand, barely visible, still hooked to N4. But under the photo, one caption. She moved today, that was it. No hashtags, no drama, just proof that the woman they tried to exploit, silence, and run into the ground was still fighting. And the internet? Baby, it erupted. People started reposting old Tamela performances with captions like, now I hear the pain in her voice. And she gave us everything while they gave her nothing. Even secular artists began speaking out. One rumored member of Bianchi's team tweeted, protect black women in gospel the same way y'all profit off them. Churches began canceling bookings. Gospel radio stations pulled Man Family music from rotation. One pastor said on livestream, if silence is complicity, then it's time we raise a holy noise. And Tiffany? She'd gone from daughter to whistleblower to movement leader. She launched the Hearts Over Hustle Foundation in Tamela's name, an organization designed to provide medical advocacy, wellness support, and rest grants to gospel women. Over 40, within 24 hours, it raised over 300,000 fans. Pastors, artists, even quiet industry veterans began donating. Because now, this wasn't just about the Manns, this was about every Tamela. Every gospel woman who sang herself hoarse while her spirit broke. Every choir leader who smiled through migraines. Every worship leader who collapsed after the altar call, only to be told, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. Tiffany said it best in her final statement. I'm not doing this to ruin my father. I'm doing this to resurrect my mother. Because she gave y'all her voice and almost lost her life in the process, the gospel world had to sit with that. Really sit with it, because Tamela wasn't just a vocalist. She was the voice you played at funerals, at weddings, during recovery, during loss. That voice walked with you through valleys you couldn't even name, and yet behind That voice was pain, was silence, was neglect. So now we ask, where do we go from here? What happens when the symbols of faith become the very source of exploitation? When the kings of gospel are revealed to be building empires on the backs of women who never got to rest? What happens when "Take me to the king" becomes a cry for help instead of a cry for worship? Because the truth is, gospel has a problem, a big one. And Tiffany just lit the match. So ask yourself, how many more Tamela Manns are out there? How many gospel queens are being overworked, underprotected, and told to keep singing while they're falling apart? And how long will the church stay silent just to protect a brand? Because the altar's on fire now, and this time, it ain't the Holy Ghost, it's justice, and it's long overdue. So now that you've heard everything, the leaked messages, the ICU betrayal, the stolen charity funds, the spiritual side chick saga, and Tamela's silent scream finally being heard, you tell me, is this gospel? Or is this a glorified scam in Jesus' name? Because while David Mann was out here securing spa dates and soul-cleansing retreats, his wife was dying backstage with a mic in her hand. And when the world tried to pretend it wasn't happening, Tiffany lit the whole sanctuary up and said, "Not on my mama's watch." So let's ask the real questions. How many more Black women in ministry have to burn themselves out to keep the lights on for a brand that wouldn't even light a candle in their honor? How many husbands are building praise empires while their wives are left praying for breath? How many Dr. Jackies are sliding into back doors of gospel spaces, calling it healing while leaving real women in spiritual comas? Drop a comment and tell us where you stand. Is David done for? Should Dr. Jackie be banned from every pulpit and prayer brunch from here to the rapture? Should gospel fans finally demand protection over performance? Because baby, we clapped while she sang, now it's time we show up while she rests. Smash that like button if you believe Tamela deserves peace. Subscribe if you think truth belongs at the altar, and share this video with every church auntie, choir director, and gospel fan who ever played "Take Me to the King" and thought she must be okay, because now she needs us to show up, and this time, we're not clapping, we're listening, we're questioning, and we are done being silent.